Hello, can everyone hear me okay? Just wait in the chat to see if things are going all right. Hello. All good? All right. Well, welcome to the second inaugural Kitfox Law and Draw stream. I've got a webcam now, so hello. Yeah, to see a little part of my house and the bits that have got little toys and figures in it, which is all of it. And I've got that little amethyst live action statue just up here on the side, just to be distracting and a bit weird over and judging over there. So yes, welcome back everybody. And I've learned a few things from the first one that I'll try to address. The first one is that I noticed that I said and about 10 billion times. And I was going to suggest, good thing you can do now with that first video is play a drinking game where you drink every time I say but that would kill anybody on the planet. So you probably, no redeeming qualities from that. So I'm going to be mindful of that. Going to say a lot less. Yes, and if you're wondering about the picture and why Kid Fox has got a hat there, it's my birthday today. So yeah, nice little birthday stream. Just came back from the beach, lunch with my papa and Georgie, so it was good. And yeah, ready to get into some drawings. So yeah, we've got a few ones that people have suggested already that I'll start off with. So I'll start doing one of the pictures that was suggested on Patreon, while I answer one of the questions that was suggested on Patreon, just so we've got time to get a few more in the chats. Thanks for the birthday wishes, everybody. Cool. Oh, cool. Here you are. Yeah, I was worried for a second. I was like, nobody's here. What's going on? But yes, looks like we've got a pretty good turnout, so that's good. So yes, we got a webcam. This webcam actually, we got it for the previous stream, but it wasn't our ancient computer. By ancient, I mean 3 or 4 years old. Doesn't have the USB-C or whatever the new port is, which apparently is the only one that exists now. So we couldn't hook it up. And while I was streaming last week, the cord came in the mail that G Express posted to us. So that almost worked out last time, but it's here this time. So that's something in there down in the corner. Yeah. So the first one, I guess just a little intro, just in case anyone's watching this later or has happened upon it somehow through YouTube somehow. I don't know how that would happen. But yeah, my name is Matt Cleaver, aka Kitfox Crimson, and I've done a lot of webcomics, a lot of Anthro ones, a lot of Pokemon ones, and they can all be found in my Deviantart or Tapas or webtoon. If you just look up Kitfox Crimson, those will come up. But yeah, this is a stream where I, at the moment, Patreon only, and probably for the foreseeable future, Patreon only, asking questions, requests for me to draw, while I answer some lore questions about sort of the worlds of my comic, things that in these big sprawling narratives, sometimes there isn't time or relevance to talk about, and I'll see if I can answer those. And whatever I say is canon, which I'll probably forget within the next 10 minutes. So, I guess this is here forever, so someone can call me out on something if I contradict things in the future. But yeah, so the first request that we had was draw my favorite Pokemon and my favorite character using my favorite Pokemon against my least favorite character using my least favorite Pokemon. So that we will do right now. So let's get a new little layer in here. Now, it's always very difficult to get an idea of what my favorite Pokemon is. I don't think I even knew that when there was 150 Pokemon. Now there's 150,000 Pokemon, so it's just getting harder and harder. But I've narrowed it down, and I've just decided to draw the one that I feel like drawing today. So we're just going to get these layers around the right way and do this. So, and also favorite character as well. You kind of when you do a comic, you sort of get fairly close to a lot of them. So that was also pretty hard to narrow down. But I chose to do Guy. I haven't really drawn very much lately because he's not in the current works. But hopefully from that little receding hairline, you kind of know who this might be. And I haven't drawn him in black and white before, so he's sort of main defining feature, I guess, in that he's got glowing blue eyes. Probably isn't going to be incredibly doable. What sort of chin did I give him? That is not a rat chin. And the question that I will answer first, that was put forward already, is what is my favorite of the things that I've done? So I guess my favorite works. And that, again, is pretty hard, because I guess the thing about that is, I guess they're all my favorite while I'm doing it, and time is the main thing that'll kind of make things seem a little bit irrelevant to me or sort of cringy or whatever. It's pretty rare that I'm sort of drawing something and I'm kind of sick of it. The only time that I can really recall that happening is probably during Restore Generation. If you go back to then, this was about 2005 kind of thing. It was sort of the first comic that I was doing in color, and I really, it seemed like a good idea at the time. I just sort of gotten into digital coloring, much as I do now. I still was doing sort of hand-drawn line art. But yeah, first time I was doing digital coloring, I was really excited at the start to be doing it. And the way I was doing it was very inefficient, took me forever, didn't really look that great, especially in the early pages. And I just got kind of sick of doing the color. It was taking me probably 4 or 5 times longer to do a page than it had to do my previous comic, which was Stolen Generation. And the story was going at a crawl. I wasn't like super loving where it was going. I made a few decisions early on with some characters that I kind of ended up regretting. But yeah, so that was probably the only one I ended up not really liking. And like when it was done, I was just like, oh, thank the Lord that it's finally done and I can move on to something else. And that's why the next thing I did, or the next big comic I did after that, was Industrial Revelations, which was a black and white comic, which I could do a lot quicker and a lot easier. And I just sort of, SG was a lot of sort of shading, cross-hatching to build up the depth and shading, whereas Industrial Revelations, I was the first comic I started doing just solid black shading for things, and that made things kind of stand out a lot and sort of look a lot better. But kind of about halfway through that, I changed my mind again and then decided to go back to color, because I'd gotten a little bit better at doing it quicker and a little bit, so it looked a little bit better. And the black and white was okay, and I did like a lot of the how it would let you see a lot of the line work better, and you could use shading to emphasize things rather than color. But I was ready to go back to color again. It took me a little while, because after that I did a lot of Nuzlocke, which were mainly in black and white, not entirely. But yeah, so RG is probably the one I liked the least. But in terms of ones I liked the most, yeah, that's sort of whatever I'm doing at the time. But I think looking back on it now, probably the one I like just would go back and, narcissistically read again would be the Nuzlocke, I reckon. So yeah, in sort of 2011, I started off with the Sapphire Nuzlocke. It seems like that sort of feels like not that long ago, but if I think about what else was happening in 2011, that was a long time ago. I was going to probably do something for its like 10-year anniversary the other year, but I ended up not doing that. So yeah, the Nuzlocke, I don't know. They're not too heavy. You can just watch whatever, read whatever, whenever with them. Just like lighthearted, and I like doing that a lot. Well, lighthearted except when it was incredibly depressing, which was about half the time. So nice little mood whiplash between lighthearted and incredibly dark. But yeah, so I think those were probably my favorite series looking back on. But at the moment, yeah, I really like I really like this one, In Our Shadow, previously called Legacy. just because it's when I kind of really first started to draw something properly, kind of to the best of my coloring ability. And the story evolved in ways that I didn't really expect. It was going to be a lot different when I first started. And it ended up in a place that I liked, and the characters ended up pretty okay. And their sort of interactions are good, and some of the themes and things that ended up coming into play in that one work for me. And yeah, so I think In Our Shadow, besides the Nuzlocke, would be my favorite, just because it's my current one, and I think there's a lot in there. And as far as like world building, I think it was probably the best one. And yeah, just themes and a lot of stuff that I kind of like. So yes, we have of course Emperor Shawl here. And in case you are wondering how that's pronounced, that's how I pronounce it. And I'm a geologist, so that is the law. That is the truth, as far as anyone's concerned. Emperor Shawl. Yeah, which is when I was making up the names, because very early on I thought that I did want to have them all sort of rock names. And yeah, so they sort of start off with Amethyst, who was originally going to be the main bad guy of the whole series, but it just organically changed a little bit to not be like that. So Amethyst became one of the good guys. Spoilers, I guess. So I guess if you didn't want spoilers, go back in time to before I said that. Read the first 100 pages of In Our Shadow, and then come back and unpause this video. So I think that should be fine. So yeah, she was going to be the villain, but then a lot of stuff developed to make that not the case. So here he is. Now, in terms of Pokemon, I've decided to go with. I'm just going to check the chat real quick. Cold at the beach. It is summer here indeed in Australia right now. Yes, 28 degrees Celsius, 82 Fahrenheit. It was a bit hotter than that, I think, or it's going to be hotter than that later on today. You're jealous? It's 1.1 degrees Celsius in Northern Ohio. Yeesh. Yeah, it doesn't, even though we're pretty low down on the old globe, it very rarely gets that cold here. So, thoughts and prayers. Hope that's okay up there. That's the opposite of when I build minis. I hate any tiny mistakes. Coming back later, I'm a lot less disappointed. Oh, yeah, I guess that also works. Yeah. So, that's that. The Pokemon I've decided to go with is Zoroark, because I had one for a hot second in one of my Nuzlocks, and spoilers again, that didn't go super great either. So yeah, I was super stoked. I mean, it was just a prescripted story Zoroark, so it's not really, doesn't really count like catching it or anything, but whatever. He was called Nightshade, and it was cool, and he died nearly immediately. So it'd be a good chance to use it again, and I feel like it's probably one that Shawl might have. And now we come to the conundrum, which is how big is anything? But I'm going to go by Transformers logic and say, who cares? From scene to scene, it is different. And if you want an explanation for why one frame, if there's a human in the seat, and 10 seconds later there's a robot that can turn into a truck in the same seat, the answer is magic. No, science magic. So alternate dimensions, I think. I hate it. Let's get rid of this. Didn't like that at all. I think maybe like, that's a bit better. No, they've got narrower faces than that. Should probably have a better reference for this, but what? I feel like a lot of my character design got heavily influenced by doing the Nuzlocks, which is probably not a shocking revelation to anyone. But yeah, sort of before that, everything was a very square-faced, tiny-nosed dog, that after the Nuzlocke, everything's got a very, very smooth, rounded rat head. So let's see, Zoroark, we've got sort of this sort of business, and this kind of thing, and what do we want him doing? His weird little noodly arms, probably just like, they sort of go right out. Let's do something like this. I did bring Nightshade back in a, what do you call it? Like a little commission comic. He was in there. But yeah, that was the last time he was seen. Which was probably fine, honestly. I think even at the time, I just had way too many dark types. And I had Felony in that run, the Lipard, who is probably my favorite Nuzlocke Pokemon, like of all the Nuzlockes I've done. He kind of, I guess, embodies the spirit of it more than any other Pokemon I had. He's just this useless, worthless little pathetic nothing, but he ended up surviving through things he definitely shouldn't have survived, getting to the Elite Four, and using his very particular skill set, his very particular move set to get the job done when it counted. Little Lipard priority moves. Just realized his hair was a little too far back. Didn't want to have that kind of Vegeta look, so we'll bring it forward a little bit. And then get rid of all of this. It never happened. And a little bit of ear back here. Yeah. Just a very, very delicate waist. And now it's where I figure out that these placements are going to be a worry. So feet. We've got this, we've got this. My pen went really thin. I'm going to say that's foreshortening, don't worry about it. The leg down here like this. Haven't left a huge amount of room for the opponent. And the one thing I don't like about Zoroark is it should probably have a tail, so we're just going to do a little faux, the hair is the tail kind of deal. A little bit of shading here. Yeah, it was a shame that he died, but it was kind of like, oh no, I lost one of my 1500 dark types. And it's the one type you don't even need, because you're going to find something that has crunch or bite eventually. For the 3 ghosts or whatever that you're going to be fighting in their entire life. So it was I don't know. It was to the point where it's like, yeah, that sucks. It's like one of my favorite Pokemon. It would have been nice to use it for more than 2 minutes. But at the same time, you could have something happen in a Nuzlocke, which I made the mistake in the second one of grinding a bit too much. And yeah, the characters got really developed, but nobody died. And that's like 50% of what a Nuzlocke is. I was sort of reading a lot of Nuzlocks at the time, and people just, yeah, like nothing ever dies. I'm like, what are you doing? Just, if you're going to grind that much, you might as well play it normally. It's all about living on the edge of your seat and grinding a little bit, but just enough so that you probably will just survive. So yeah, that's a Zoroark, I think. And let's do the opponent. So if you've read the Nuzlocks, you would probably know, or if you know anything about me in real life, you would know what my least favorite Pokemon is. I wonder in the chat if anyone can get it. Gee, you're not allowed to guess because you know.
Damn
it. Kitfox Voice says, Zoroark's a solid choice. How did you feel about the Hisui variant? Yeah, it looks great. Looks really good. Looks like what its shiny should have looked like. Yeah, so I haven't have I had one of those? I don't think so. But yeah, they look really, really, really top tier. They look fantastic. I love Felony's official title, the strongest Lipard ever, aka the weakest anything else. Yes. He has a few titles, actually, depending on what stage in his arc he is in. His other name is the One Hit Point Wonder, which is he can only kill things if they already have only 1 hit point left. Have I tried the new Pokemon games? Yeah. Yes, the new Pokemon games are really good. So if I say too much about it, it's just going to echo probably every single person on the planet's experience with them. But my take is, and I agree with it, that it's incredibly buggy. And at the start, it was a little bit painful to kind of get used to it. But the things that made it buggy and at the start sort of difficult to play were things that eventually became charming about it and were kind of cool, especially when I was playing co-op. And it would just lots of little things would kind of happen. And as long as it's not too detrimental, it's okay if you go through the floor a couple of times or your mount disappears or your mouth is stuck permanently open or whatever else might happen, or your music doesn't play during the Elite Four or anything like that. After a while, that sort of becomes okay. It's a feature, it's not a bug, as they say. But yeah, I love it. I love roaming about. I loved getting Miraidon's abilities fully unlocked, and that's when I just were like, it's been a long time since I've played a game where I've just wanted to roam around, and the only thing I'm doing is roaming about, and that's it. And I don't really care about doing anything else. Just exploring, looking for stuff. Knowing I'm like, there's no time for that. Who's got time to run around? I need to get from point A to point B as quickly as possible, and then go on to the next thing in which to go from point A to point B as quickly as possible. But yeah, no, it's a sign of a game that I'm really liking when I just sit back, actually complete the Pokedex, although I did about 10% of the work on that. And just, yeah, just having a good time with it. So I really enjoyed them, to make a long story short. A lot of the new Pokemon are kind of weird, but I did like a lot of them as well. So I just want to see if anyone's guessed. A water type is all you can guess. Yeah, you are correct. So let's go and do it. It's close enough. The worst water type there is. I'm going to need a reference for this actually, just 1 second. I try to remember what they look like, but my brain just rejects it, so I cannot retain that information in my head. Brain's like, why would you want to remember the worst Pokemon that there is? It sickens me just to draw it. Oh, it's painful. I'll not cover up a millimeter of Zorok with this abomination.
Yeah, you can resize stuff,
right? No. Yes. Worst Pokemon ever made. Hate it. Bratty. And it's being used by my least favorite character of mine. Which is, of course, Brat the Whipper. Didn't even die, didn't it? No, did it die? Don't even remember. I've erased that from my memory as well. Didn't even have the decency to get out of my game. I think it did survive. I think I just stopped using it. Why was I even using it? Oh, that's right. They force you to use water types. We're having about 5 HMs. Oh, for you kids in the chat, an HM is a move that you have to have in order to progress the game. You don't have those anymore, but back in the day, you would have to have fly to get to certain places. You'd have to have waterfall or surf or dig or cut, and they'd be moves that are usually not that great. Some of them were pretty good, but they're just attacks basically. So you had to find something that would use it. And so in the Nuzlocke, I said the only reason there are so many water HMs is it forces you to use the water types. Because why else would you? Man, that is a big rat, actually, now that I'm looking at it. That's fine. He's of indeterminate size. I think he'd be like 3.5 feet, but in the comics, he's kind of all over the place, depending on how imposing he needed to be. But yeah, he's cool. And anyone keeping up with In Our Shadow, he's had a little bit of an influence on the sequel, and maybe we'll learn a little bit more about what happened to him a bit later on. Do you have pockets? Probably. A lot of them. Oh, he had pocket here. Where are his eyes looking? Nowhere. I guess for some reason I envisioned Woofer being a little bit taller than that, so that's fine. That works better with... He definitely looks down. He'll stand on a tall thing in order to be tall enough to be always looking down on you. It's one of many problematic immortal guys. By immortal, I mean he lived for 40 years. And by that logic, I'm just about immortal myself. One step closer. Okay, so there we go. That is Emperor Shawl with, so favorite character, favorite Pokemon, least favorite character. So there we go. And now I haven't looked at the chat, so now to look across and see how much everyone loves Weepers and saying like, why explain yourself about this Weeper hatred? I shan't. Oh, no, I shall a little. Weeper the Wiener Trainer. When did we cross into the distortion zone? Yeah, this probably is in the distortion zone. Let's just put a little Rod Serling in here. And by little I mean a human-sized man. What is he? He's like, I'm about to tell you about something that I'm about to tell you about. Something in a different world, in a different time, a different place, with someone who isn't a 35-year-old man smoking and drinking at the same time, on his commute to work. Imagine, if you will, something related to nothing to do with that. That's the journey we're about to go on today. Yeah, he had like a big, definitely one of those big side part kind of things. But it was in black and white, but like only black and white. So there was no shades of gray. So you couldn't actually tell what his hair was doing. It was something like this. Yeah, wait, more condescending than that. No, it's too angry. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Yeah. Hope the running theme of these things isn't just that someone's going to be smoking in it. That's a Rod Serling right there. For the longest time, I thought it was Sterling, but it isn't. It's a real man's man. I'm an idiot. Should have put this a little higher. That's fine. The two nightmares, of course, being the two whippers. Yeah. So there we go on that. Do. It's not that bad. It is that bad. Weeper is the worst. It's fun, but it wouldn't be a game-free game if it wasn't held together with popsicle sticks and string. Down in this neck of the woods, we call those icy pole sticks. Yes, correct. Even from the very first one, and that's what made it charming. I've still got my Pokemon Blue set on my Game Boy Pocket with the save it still works. It's set to the Cinnabar Island glitch, where you go to the Safari Zone, you do some things, and you go back and forth outside Cinnabar Island. Everyone knows about this one. And you're going to encounter like 250 stuff in the water, some missing nose, and all that kind of good stuff. And I found, there's no record of this, but I do have a witness. I was in the water at Cinnabar Island, and I got attacked by Gary, got attacked by Blue, and he had 6 missing nose. And I was like, is this really happening? And as far as anyone but me and my sister are concerned, it didn't happen, but it absolutely did happen. So that was the highlight of my Pokemon Blue. But yes, ever since the start, there's been glitches, there's been opportunities to make the glitches even worse. That's just part of the fun. Bethesda's made its whole business around that idea. So what if we Whipper the Whipper trend? Yep. It's snowing like Ragnarok here, and my power could go at any time. Oof. Well, I'll give you some of our heat. You can give us some of your snow, I think, in a fair trade. It hasn't rained here in a long time. Are you a Twilight Zone fan, or did it just come up as a pun? Both. I'm a massive Twilight Zone fans. I am a massive Twilight Zone fans. Yeah, that's correct. It is awesome, and it's just incredible that a show from 1959 was just so incredible, so atmospheric, shot in black and white, but like the sets and the acting, I guess because it's a showcase of all the best sci-fi stuff that was happening at the time, and a lot of the best actors at the time, Leonard Nimoy, William Shatner, all these cool people, kind of before they were in bigger stuff, and I assume actors who were in something besides Star Trek were also on there, just giving amazing performances and with incredible ideas, perfectly packaged in like a 50-minute story. Get in, get out, think about it. Think about it. Probably atomic bombs, maybe something about that. Look out. Something in your neighborhood. Look out. And yes, Twilight Zone's fantastic. So let's see about another suggestion. Have a think about it. I'm going to do one of the other ones that I had in the comments on Patreon. So have a think about what you might want there. And I don't think I've got another thing to talk about. So if you've got something that you want me to just ramble on about while I'm drawing, then go for it. And I will ramble accordingly. So one of them was Amethyst in Master Chief armor. So, much like Samus before, I then need to look up what Master Chef looks like.
New chief.
No, I mean, yep, here he is. Halo's a pretty cool guy, and he isn't afraid of anything. Oh God. Oh, I should have just pulled red versus blue out of my memory. That would have been better and easier. Okay, Master Chief. So busy. This fellow's busy. Let's go. I guess we'll. Now, I suppose I'll do a sketch. Why is it not? Oh, here on the wrong layer. Do a little sketch on this one first just to get the right body shape, and then I'll come back in and add all the deets. And let's see if I can. I've been doing a lot of kind of pretty boring poses, actually, so let's see if I can do something a bit more interesting. Although, if you've ever done like a digitigrade comic, you notice how difficult it is to get the legs to do stuff, because you can't really do a proper knee bend because of this whole bit. It's like such a short area here and then a big long foot here. So either I'm doing something wrong or I just need to think about it a bit more, but I find it a little difficult to get kind of kneeling poses and things like that. I tend to cheat it by kind of having it cropped on the screen on the comic panel. And I'm probably going to make... I was about to say something incredibly stupid. I'm going to say I'll probably make her armor white because she has white armor. But one, it's black and white, so it doesn't matter. Two, it's already white, even though it's black and white. So it's going to be like that anyway. And she's going to have, instead of one of those big kind of halo guns, it's going to have a regular diffuser. And I'll try to do a better job of it than I did last time. Oh, not as many angles. You can sort of tell whether I'm Russian or not Russian. I'm clearly English. Whether I'm rushing the picture or not, depending on how many kind of angles I put onto guns. Like I'll put like a little bevel on the side there if I'm feeling adventurous or really into it. But a lot of the time I won't do that. Got this. Got the handle right up against that. Got the big battery pack at the back, which you don't see very often. And then it hasn't really got that much of a body. Like this. Yep. All right. So now then, looking up. Back in the days when the characters had hair that kind of worked. One thing that's kind of a bit rough about Marble and a few of the others is that her hair's kind of a bit difficult to have if you show it from the other side. It's that kind of Fluttershy problem where unless you're doing your thing in Flash and it just miraculously flips with no rhyme or reason to so you can see the face, you're going to be covering up that whole face. So I've got to be careful with angles of Marble and like how I'll only show her from the other side if it's going to be not that important to see what the face is going on, because you're only really going to be seeing the mouth or the eyes, not both. Don't be greedy. Express it. If you're a comic artist, you'll be able to get expression out of one of those facial features. This is some real early page Amethyst, actually, before the cheek things kind of got properly refined. No. No. Yeah. Okay, so then now we got to get started doing a bunch of Master Chief stuff. Probably won't go too crazy with it. Oh, it's actually a lot like how the raccoon armor goes. Yeah, I wanted to give them a very kind of boxy look to their stuff. Because every time I add a new race, I've got to add in a new armor design. And I'm always thinking, don't forget this is supposed to be 50,000 years in the future, and don't make it look too much like just a different sort of BMX gear. A different sort of, I was going to say Zone 3, but that's a very local reference. Laser tag outfit. And yeah, so I wanted the squirrels to have a very sort of, what do you call it? Not BMX, but the little motorbikes that go on the big jumps. Something, that sort of thing, that kind of armor they have with like the elbow pads and the knee pads and all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of angles in here. This is the sort of thing I would be able to knock out in 2 seconds in real media, but as a digital job, I'm still not quite there. But hopefully through these streams, I'll get a lot better at doing that sort of thing. I'm also not going to bother, probably not half the time, but a lot of the time when I'm doing my comic pages, most of it is spent just repairing lines and making them connect. Because I'm not one of these actually good artists or magic people who can just do that without coming back in and, oh, there's a line tangent here. That's going over there. I've got to erase all this stuff. Maybe one day, but I'm definitely not there yet with that either. So we're going to go around like that. We're going to got some of this. Yeah, I hope you all watched Red versus Blue at the time, if you were around during that particular period in internet history, by which I mean the Dark Ages. It was quite a ride. I think for the longest time, I'd only seen the first bit of it. But for anyone who doesn't know, it's basically just a couple of guys the Rooster Teeth guys, they got together with like 4 Xboxes or something and made a little kind of comedy series playing Halo, where they made a bunch of characters and they just went around and just was doing stupid stuff. And it started off incredibly basic, kind of got a bit more fancy as the thing went along. But it was really good. And probably like when I remember, I guess the early 2000s, like 2002, 2003 kind of time, Red versus Blue is definitely one of those things that defined that particular age, especially if like internet culture and what I was into, what I found funny, what I could relate to other human beings about. It's a real touchstone. So yeah, if you could go back in there and you don't mind watching something in like, I don't know, what's what's less, maybe like 180p or something in a letterbox, not letterbox, 4 by 3, not 4 by 3, probably 3 by 4. It's probably like less wide than it is tall. It's a very narrow format, very small. I had the DVDs and I tried to watch them on my modern television, and it was like this postage stamp sized image in the middle of the screen. I had to like crawl towards so I could actually see what was going on.
1080 is high definition.
Oh, I said 1080. I said 180. I thought, yeah, 180. So one. 1 pixel per square inch. So we've got a foot. Well, I did some muscle memory clicking on the on the color select when I'm coloring a comic page, and maybe some of these streams might be just me coloring a comic page. I'm color selecting a lot of things. Now then, we've got some very cricket-esque shin equipment. Waiting for that Halo cricket crossover, the cricket arc of Halo. I think that'd be, well, they're already all ready for it. I think that'd be pretty great actually. And then what are we talking about? I'm Australian. I don't even like cricket. I don't know what watching cricket is like. It's like watching baseball, but with way more maths that you don't understand. And as far as I know, there's no way to fathom it. It's kind of like lost in translation, but it's unless you're probably 50 or over, you can't fathom. Like there's something in your brain if you're born after 1945 that will mean that you're physically incapable of understanding the rules of cricket. I've had my father-in-law try to explain it to me many times, and it's something. It's weird because it's the sort of thing I really like. In the moment, it's explaining it to me. I'm like, yeah, that's cool. I like little tabletop war games. I like all this stuff, but I just can't retain it. It sounds cool at the time. It's like, oh, this and offside and blah blah. Here's a graph of this and the ball's bouncing and doing all this stuff. I'm like, oh, cool. But no, it's gone immediately. Now then, this foot's doing this. Shin guard. Some other stuff, and this whole zone, that's a big zone on a rat leg, it turns out. Not such a big zone on a human man? I don't know what a Master Chief does. What? Yeah, I guess it probably would just be like more of that stuff. If I've learned anything from Marvel Comics, if in doubt, do this. Because then you can do this. I wasn't going to do it, but I mean, I won't do it, but I'll just, yeah. I feel like this is kind of like catharsis, or this is like therapy for Marvel comic artists. They can just go into the zone and just do this, and then kind of just makes it all look good. If it was good, imagine this is good, then it would be good. Just that kind of thing. That's just everywhere. I'll leave it there. Why not? Just to be confusing. Just to irk people that I didn't do it on everywhere else. But yeah, I think that's, well, hold on. I was just talking about rat tails and how no one knows how to do them, and most of the time I forget to do them. But there we go. Oh wait, we've got some stuff going on in here. How could I forget that? Because I've always got stuff going on around the neck region, in all of my armors and whatnot. And I don't know, something about this doesn't quite read Amethyst to me. I think she's too angry. She's only angry and she's pretending to be angry. Also, the angle's kind of messing with me. But... and a lot of the time, colors are what make a character kind of into what they are. And I rely on that quite a lot. So I'm like, I'll do a thing, and I'm like, it'll look good when it's colored, I suppose. Yeah, but that's that, I believe, is that. Yeah, I don't know a lot about Halo. All I know about Halo is all the stuff in there is way bigger than I thought it would be or that it should be. Oh, the Halo, yeah, it's like Bigger than a planet. Don't even trip about that. That's fine. Then again, the trump card I have in my back pocket is because I'm a Star Trek guy. Is like, oh, have you heard about a Dyson sphere? So whenever there's those like Metaball Studio videos where it shows us the size of things, and everyone's like, yeah, look how big everything is. I'm like, oh, that's cute. This thing is 200 times bigger than the sun. So, but I watched the most recent one, and some kind of 1990, early 90s sort of not comic, novel series that I'd never heard of, which sounds really cool. I want to read into it, where there's sort of dark matter creatures who feast off gravity, so they're turning every star in the universe into a blue dwarf, which is killing everything else in the universe, but you can't fight them because they're dark matter. The only way to fight them is with the gravity field. So there's like this insanely high concept sci-fi thing going on where there's just this crazy science fiction stuff happening. And in the end, we can't beat the dark matter creatures. So spoilers, not us, another race that's incredibly much more powerful than humanity, built this thing that's like 200,000 light years wide, which is a huge ring around galaxies to create this gravitational force in the center of it so intense that it breaks a hole into another reality. And that's the only way we can escape this fight. So I guess that is bigger than a Dyson sphere, but that's it. That's fine. I'll allow that. That's where I draw the line. But Halo stuff always seemed incredibly big to me. Alrighty, so let's go back to the beginning. Where did I leave off? Still got, Kitfox Play says, I've still got my copy of Blue, but I had to do some battery surgery a couple of years ago. Yeah, that'll happen. I'm just amazed mine's still going. I don't even understand it. How do you plan comics? Do you work out the details or just sort of roll with the flow? That very much depends on the comic that it is. If it's a Nuzlocke, it's kind of, I'll just go by the story beats and kind of whatever happens, and then I'll just insert stuff into it to kind of make it interesting or funny or whatever. Or if that thing reminded me of a thing, I'll make a reference. But I did that way too much, so I ended up getting sick of that and sort of toning that down. So that was sort of minimal planning. I'd sort of just plan maybe like a page ahead, and then I'd keep notes for the Nuzlocke, so I'd have a book and I'd write down kind of what was happening, and especially in the fights, because in the first Nuzlocke I did before I thought I was going to do a comic of it, I'm going to get a new drawing suggestion before I start on this ramble, so there isn't a repeat of last time where there was just something on the screen, by which I mean nothing on the screen for ages. So let's turn that off and let's get a new one in here. Could someone please give me a suggestion? Actually, I'll go, while you're thinking of a suggestion, I'll just go to the chat. The In Our Shadows crew with a birthday cake and Kitfox with J-Runner suppressing the urge to text Shaw due to the Maddie incident. Oh, Madagascar, right, yeah. Moomin Rider armor from One Punch. Yeah. Isn't he just wearing like a helmet? Isn't he just wearing clothes? Agent Texas versus Griff. That's me too. Oh yeah. Old school machine and most freaking wild. Yep. Long time Red versus Blue fan. Yeah, I think you have to be a long time Red versus Blue fan. I think it's the only type of fan there is. A time in internet history where you'd get banned if you weren't offensive enough. Yeah, you got to stand out. Definitely a wild west of the data. Yep. Cricket is the most slow, cryptic game I've ever seen. You are not wrong. Amethyst is like Master Chief in some ways. Both are very competent but have more compassion than a lot of their peers. Yeah, as much as I don't like having super genius characters, I have about 12 of them, and Amethyst is one of them. And yeah, pretty competent, super naive, but, heart's in the right place. She gets there. All right, so the Show's crew with a birthday cake. Ooh, that's a big crew. Karen's pressing edge detection. Okay, yeah, all right. I'll just put as many in there as I can. So I probably won't go too crazy with it. Whoop. Yeah, so doing my comics. I've done, so it's going to be POV. You are the back of Kitfox's head. which is my default hair. When I was talking about influences last time, I can't believe I failed to recall the various works of Go Nagai as being an incredible influence in what I do. The giant sideburns, the big crazy hair, the giant robots. Yeah, that's a big one. So hair-wise, Macross and, say, Mazinga Z, Get a Robo, that sort of thing, are big ones. So yeah, I've got this here. Now for the cake, I'm going to draw the cake that my wife Georgie made me not a few hours ago, and that I ate not a few less than that hours ago. So it was a dark chocolate cake with dark chocolate icing made out of a full block of dark chocolate, and it was rainbow sprinkled around the top. That's going to be kind of hard to kind of illustrate. And it said my age on one of the bits, and it had one candle in the middle, so that my geriatric frame had the ability to blow it out without dying. Yeah, apparently she just made it directly onto the table. It's a nice little plate in here. I was like, yeah, it wasn't a bad little semicircle. Yeah, now tried to follow it up, idiot, with one nearly exactly the same. That's fine. It's my birthday. No one can say anything about that. Okay. Grilled cake. There it is. Okay, so I guess we need Shawl and we need J-Runner. They can be next to each other because whoever planned this party didn't do their research. Oh yeah, and I guess when I'm doing this stuff, you can sort of get an idea of how I'm doing some face shapes when I do them, because a lot of the time, most of the lines I draw will get erased. But in order to get things kind of in the right spot, you got to kind of do bits that you're not gonna be seeing. I think definitely this, and it's probably more emotion than she ever showed in the actual comic. And this, yeah, she's kind of bristled up. No, I think she had just a flat round hair. For most of it, she just had the hat on, so well, she's kind of out of it for most of it. And then she got the special hat, and then you couldn't see anything. But oh, maybe it was just flat and no anything. Don't know. No way to be sure. Yeah, that seems wrong. I'm not sure. I think it was just smooth around the bend, as they say. Just as a quick aside before I get back onto the question, this hairstyle that I give a lot of people where it sort of comes up at the side, that, in case you're wondering, came from a character from the British animation The Animals of Farthingwood. There's a character Dreamer, who was a fox who had, I'm not going to draw it from memory, I had this sort of thing kind of around the edge, and I kind of liked it, so I just like put it on a lot of characters. Well, originally in the Crossovers comics, Crossovers 3 in particular, I think. No, Crossovers 4. Yeah, that's on what do you call it? Patreon. Dreamer was in that quite a bit, and so she was in there as like a character in the comic, and eventually through some like terrible time crossover shenanigans, it ended up becoming part of Time Corps, and becoming sort of a proper character in the universe, and changing their name so they could become like a character in my sort of thing. But yeah, that's where that comes from. And like I sort of adopted it for a lot of characters after the fact. Get some real, just just really aggressive finger energy over here. I think Shaw would probably be worried about this. I don't know. I guess this. So many things are not going to make sense. I guess this is before or after she got reinstated in the Lima military. Yeah, so the Nuzlocke comics I do kind of as they as they unfold. Whatever happens in the thing, I just sort of spice it up, add some character stuff as it comes along, and it sort of organically grows. With the really early comics, I had like no plan at all. Like literally from page to page, it would just be made up. So if you have looked at any of those ancient ones on Patreon, like yeah, Crossovers 4 especially, I had absolutely no plan with what was going on with that. And like every page, it would just further the story a little bit. And that one and the ones that came before it, which were the same, pretty kind of crazy how it actually worked out. A lot of it really did sort of tie together and end up making sense. I'm like, all right, I guess I can just do this forever now, which to some extent I sort of do. I still have a lot of the story up in the air whenever I do stuff. Kind of hope that it's kind of going to pan out. This one I'm doing right now is probably the most scripted of all of them. And that's probably why it also seems like, at least in my mind, it's dragging a little bit, just because I'm really trying to set a lot of stuff up. So, and especially when it's coming out pretty sparsely, it can be a little, yeah, probably a little bit of a slow burn. But hopefully, when things really start to kick off, it's going to be a lot easier to relate to characters and their growth and the stuff they're dealing with because you've seen their terrible start as characters in the very long, drawn out sort of war that, spoilers, isn't really anything to do with the main like crux of what's going on. Sort of just a setting to expand stuff. I'm just going to jump back to chat real quick. How long am I going to deprive the patrons of Lima dialogue? Probably for about another 1 minute whenever I get up to this in this little picture here. But we will get back to Madagascar, I promise. Was your self-insert hooking up with Dreamer legit crush or an excuse to keep her in it? Crimson wasn't my self-insert then. He was just, if you have read that, I know you have, Kitfox Way. I saw your comments. Thank you very much for reading that terrible piece of history that should have stayed buried. But yeah, Crimson was just a Fox character who came into it and was supposed to be just like a jerk and like a punching bag. And even like 2 or 3 comics after that, he wasn't my insert character even then. He sort of it just slowly happened. I don't even know how. And that wasn't even like before DA. So by the time DA rolled around, the character was nothing like that. It was basically a different character. Yeah. So Dreamer was my favorite character. I wouldn't say crush, but definitely my favorite character at the time. Sadly, can't stay awake any longer. Good night, everyone. Hope that everyone has a good stream. Yeah, well, thanks for joining in. Been an absolute pleasure to have you in here. Yeah, it's been great. And yeah, obviously, don't feel like you got to stay for the whole thing. It's just a blessing to have people here at all, listening and watching this nonsense. So yeah, good night. And thanks for happy birthday wishes. And if you smile, smiling right now. So it's already done. I do really enjoy doing this stream. So it definitely has brought me some birthday happiness. Drop idea just in case. Seed in Megaman X. Favorite Primarch with correspondingly funny for a character. My favorite Primarch, of course, is Fulgrim because I do love some Emperor's Children. I've got a big Emperor's Children army. One time, if I've got my webcam in all range mode, I might take a little tour of the Kitfox estate and show you how much insanely many miniatures I have. But yeah, it'll be Fulgrim if I do that one. Seed in Megaman. Yeah, sure. All right, so let's continue on with this. Yeah, so comics, usually I will plan about halfway through. I'll have the ending in mind, but kind of the middle I won't really flesh out until it's a bit closer to the time. But yeah, planning wise, what I'll do is while I'm at school, supposed to be working, I will have a Word document open and I will write feverishly down kind of the dialogue of a scene and sort of have that out. So I can sort of bang that out pretty quickly. And then I've got all the dialogue in there. Then what I do is bring that back home and then I start to kind of number out the sentences or refine it a little bit and number out the sentences until I've kind of, and sort of I can do the page layout kind of in my head. And yeah, sort of do the page layout in my head. I sort of think about how many panels this will need to be, where on the panel they're going to be, kind of get that sorted out, have them all numbered. And then once they're all numbered, I start doing a sketch. So the sketch, I'll test the webcam to see how well I can see stuff close up. But in the next stream, I'll like probably show you what like some of those early pages look like. And yeah, so I do a sketch, which is very basic. Then this is all on a hand-drawn piece of paper, kind of like sort of this sort of size. And yeah, our Australian paper isn't quite the right dimensions for anything, it turns out. So I have a lot of trouble when I'm like making it into physical media. So if I'm printing it out, it's always a bit of a hassle kind of cropping things and that sort of stuff because I never do any planning and I always have to end up making the paper size different to what it is to start with. But yeah, so I'll do the sketch, I'll get some fine liners and do the inking. And because I've done that for 100,000 years, I'm not too bad at sort of doing it kind of right the first time. There's not a lot of things I've got to fix usually. And then I scan that in, then I put it in Photoshop and I change the levels, then I add the text in Photoshop. Then I go into Open Canvas, which is this program, which is another ancient relic from the past. I started using this around about the same time as I was watching Red versus Blue. And then I color in this, and I mainly use the polygon fill tool to do the color stuff. And then I put it back into, sorry, 1 second. What's that?
Did I introduce you to Open
Yes. Yes. Satali just said she introduced me to Open Canvas, much like she introduced me to every piece of technological equipment or program, because I, as I mentioned many times, am a combination of sort of like very inept at technology and also averse to change. So it takes a very, very big push to actually get me to try something new or use a new program, download anything, whatever, get on MSN Messenger or whatever was the thing at the time. But yeah, so she got me into that, and as she did pretty much everything else at the time and now, right up until now. So about 20 years later, still doing it. Some things never change. But yeah, I actually, just a real quick aside, here's a little sneak preview of the next page of In Our Shadow. I was trying to get this finished, I was going to get this finished this morning, but I ended up being on a fairly lengthy phone call. I was talking to my friend Carney, or Carnival. A lot of you probably know her from DA or elsewhere. And yeah, we're just chatting about stuff. She messaged me for my birthday, so I gave her a ring. Talking about Star Trek, talking about 2001 Space Odyssey, talking about all that cool stuff. So that ended up going for like an hour and a bit, so I didn't quite finish it, but I'll have that up later today. And that means I will also, I'm trying to I've been kind of a bit busy with stuff, so I haven't done as many comic pages as I probably should have been doing, but I'll try to get back on that schedule. It's been partly sort of sorting out the YouTube stuff as a thing, so now that that's mostly sorted out, I'll be able to get back on the sort of comic drawing schedule. And I've also been painting a lot of Marvel Crisis Protocol miniatures, so that is not anyone's fault but my own. But yeah, you got to take a little bit of time every now and then, or you get burnt out and die. So he's got a little bit of color back here. And once again, I've very, very misjudged where these eyes need to be. Yeah, that's better. And I guess there'll be some other people. Let's go with... Nope. No. Good enough. This is Clover. It's not good enough, actually. I'm so used to drawing Tourmaline's head, which is incredibly long. You've got to get used to drawing a pretty long, but not super long head. Which, yeah, I just think she'd be like, kind of like seeing where this is going. Yeah. Something like... Yeah, and this one, in color or not, basically the same. Yeah, so that's kind of how I plan the comics out. On a Word document, then I'll just sketch it. And yeah, so there's not really a lot to it. This sketches why Tourmaline shouldn't have been given a +1 at her invitation to the party. Yeah. She kind of got a bit arrogant, didn't really think that there'd be a lab rat who would be able to read her mind or would risk it for reasons that will become apparent later. But I'm sure there's a lot of people kind of in the ballpark of what's going on. Although I think I can tell you that it's not anything that anyone thinks they have guessed yet. It's not anything that I've seen people guess. So yeah, something similar, but not quite. So, yep. Then I guess we'll have some other rats coming in for... What? Party. Oh. Oh, right. Would it be a good idea to post the stream sketches up on Patreon? Yeah, sure, I'll do that. Did I have a persona prior to Crimson? Yeah. Yep. Let me just think. Let's see. Well, kind of. It wasn't so much like I mean, this is a long time ago, so personas weren't really a thing that I knew about until I got onto DA. And the Crimson, even that was like well before DA. So I didn't really have a character that I identified with as myself. But the one I probably would draw the most, like by default, I guess, which you could say is like sort of was my character, was Raid, who I've talked about already. But back in the day, he looked really weird. I'm just gonna yeah, and when I get to crossovers 1 and 2, I'll sort of start putting that up. But let's see. He was originally like, this is sort of primary school sort of stuff. I used to draw eyes like this because I watched Balto, and I think I only had like a couple of, I just had like the VHS cover, and I would base all my knowledge of how to draw things from the VHS cover of Balto. So I think there must have been a lot of eyes that were side on. So I would draw eyes like this a lot. And so, yeah, he just had sort of, it was very, very angular and had kind of this sort of thing. Yeah, just like a dog. Eventually, he got a lot different. Got like big hair like this. Even in crossovers 4, he's more like this. With eyes like this. And then, yeah, so originally it was kind of like this. So I guess my first persona, if you could call it that, was this. And back then he was called Redentor because I was a terrible child and I'd been reading too many fantasy novels and I thought you had to make some insane nonsense, which was eventually shortened just to Raid. So let me just get these guys out of here. Yeah, so that was my first one prior to Crimson. Earlier than that, I guess the very concept like wasn't even in my mind, kind of like your pre-elementary school sort of stuff. The first comics I did, the first comic I did was actually a Batteries Not Included fan comic, which was, I didn't even know like what to call them. So the robots were called Bitty Bids, and I don't know why, but that was the first comic I sort of remember doing was that. So it was like this little round, like sort of flying saucer looking thing with feet, and it kind of had like a human friend, and it would sort of go around. So that was I guess not a persona in any way, but like it's just a character, I suppose. Now, huh, why isn't that drawing? Have we had an issue? Have we had a problem? Did Open Canvas was reminded of how old it is and stopped working? Oh, you idiot. Selection. Got a selection down there. Okay. I'm a teacher of digital art. You'd think I'd know the things to look at, but no, I don't. Do as I do, not as I do. Do as I do, and I'm showing you what to do, but don't do as I do for real. So yeah, let's get rid of this, and that comes more forward, so that's cool. So yeah, I think J-Runner makes sense to be here. He can be in here as well. I think he's just like, seeing that things are going to come to blows, and he's like maybe trying to de-escalate the situation. Oh, here's this as well. Yeah, that's the very very Kitfox kind of face. Originally, that he had this sort of hair like that. See if he's doing a more of a hey, it's not worth it kind of deal. Is this arm going to line up in any way whatsoever with that shoulder? The answer is no. So let's. He's actually a bit less kind of athletic and good at sports than J Runner is, so he probably wouldn't actually be able to do much about this. But he's trying. He's doing his best. He's probably the one who probably should be more into the madness of this, but I don't think he even knew who. Oh no, I guess he would have known who Emperor Shaw was at that point. At that point in the time. But yeah, I'm looking forward to getting back to Madagascar and seeing where things are at the moment. But yeah, it'll be a bit of time. In my head, it's like, oh yeah, a couple of pages. Then when I draw the pages out, it's like, oh, a couple of dozen pages. So, no, we're in no rush, I guess. It's not like the world is heading towards doom and destruction in any way that I need to be doing a comic quickly for. So let's get this all sorted out. And let's see, maybe I'll put someone else on this side. He's a big character from that I can put in there. Oops. Again with that muscle memory. Let's go with, I think someone, no. I think someone brought this rat suit to the party. It's got to be COVID safe. Just love drawing these things. Can't get enough of them. All right, so I think that probably answers that question. Let's have a look back in the chat real quick. God, hopefully she doesn't have Yash in her trunk or something. I get you, I was fixated on animal characters from extremely early childhood, long before I had words for any of it or knew there was a group of people. Yeah. So do you draw with a tablet or just freehand with a mouse? Oh, this is my chance to lie and say that I freehand with a mouse. It kind of looks like I'm doing that, doesn't it? No, I've got a tablet. I don't think this program has weighted smoothing or anything like that, so I'm just kind of bad at it. But we'll get there. These are sketches. You can't complain if it's a sketch. Yeah, so I use a tablet. I've got a Wacom something. It's from about 8 years ago. But refer to my previous comment about never being on board with getting new technology or anything like that. So yeah, we've got this present, I guess, probably just to make sure things don't get out of hand. A bit late, but you made it. How's it going? Yeah, it's going good. I'm enjoying it. Been drawing some stuff. It's that third drawing in. It is my... Oh, yay! Georgie's Wings of Fire book came, which is good because we're going away and we wanted to have that. In the mail, she received, like, of a set of 5, the last one, just so I could, like, stare at her being, like, tempting. It's like, yes, read this. I'm sure we'll be able to piece together what happened in the other 4 volumes, no worries. But the one she was waiting on actually arrived, so that's good. Yeah, so it's going good. It is my birthday, and I'm doing some birthday picture right now. Yeah, and who else on this side? Let's make sure I haven't checked anything. I think, oh yeah, just if someone could give me a suggestion for who to put up here, somewhere else on this side of the picture, I'll do that while we're getting a look over and chat. Thank God it's been kind of quiet. Didn't want to hog the chat, but he keeps asking for questions to answer. Yeah, that I do. There's some other lemurs down here. Yeah, Brainstorm. All right. Oh, look at all this. Yes, certainly then, now that I've got all this stuff to do with. Bray's about the same height of these guys. I'll do them both. That doesn't make any sense, but it doesn't make sense already, so that's fine. Bray can be like in here. He's like not much taller than the... Oh, we're talking about like a original recipe Bray. He's not much taller than the lemurs, but he's quite a lot like heftier. How does his markings do? They're like this, this. Oh yeah, sorry if I made you feel pressured to answer questions and stuff. I didn't mean for that to be the case. So yeah, just chime in if you want to. I'm sure I can find stuff to talk about. I just thought if there was anything anyone wanted me to talk about, then I would prioritize that. And he's got this. Like, oh yeah, I had this as well. But I think this is one of those ones that'll look better without any of it though. Maybe I'll keep those bits. Man, he looks different with that color. These shoulder pads that look like footballs. From the football clan. And I'll do Storm as well, just to fill out this space up here. Got this. I think he'd definitely be trying to like mediate the situation. Staring off 1,000-yard stare. But maybe he already has, and that's what caused it to get this far in the first place. Oh man, it's getting warm now. It's like about, God, it's got to be like 32 degrees now. Celsius, that is. It is 30.3. It's not that much, but down in Tassie, we're very close to the ozone hole. So if you're in direct sunlight, it's like 20 degrees hotter than if you're in the shade, just because those big old rays are going to get you. He looks kind of weird without... Oops, that is hat. It's like, oh. feel like, yeah, this is probably his fault. Tried to mediate. And he's got his next thing. Another spoiler, he doesn't have that hat thing for long. I'm looking forward to not having to draw it anymore. This kind of looks like a Last Supper sort of. I guess it would be for most of these people if this actually happened. And storms, incredibly basic markings. Yeah, I was looking back at the old In Our Shadow, the first one, and man, everyone's got some really complex face stuff. I really spared all expense when I was doing the new. I guess it's because most of them are albinos. It kind of just seems that way. Alrighty, I think that'll do for this one. Here to help out on that front. Also, happy birthday. Thank you very much. No worries, didn't mean it like that. Just wanted you to worry about long silent patches for the VOD. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm a little aware of that. Forgot about the stream. You're here now. And you've still got a good 39 minutes, which incidentally is how old I am today. Wish that was that warm by me. Then again, I probably wouldn't be wishing that if it was that. Yeah, exactly. Grass is always warmer on the other side. Storm is legit one of my favorite. Oh, good characters. Perpetual War is great for games, but kind of blows for the animals, I'd imagine. Yeah, and he's getting a big wake up call, and he's going to grow a lot as a character. So I'm looking forward to having that play out once he no longer has, pardon me, the crutch of his invincibility. If that happens, who knows? Thanks, G. Like Storm too. Is that just because he's orange?
No.
He's got round eyes.
Yeah.
Yes, it's because he has round eyes. Okay. All right. So if someone could remind me of a suggestion that I might have made. Oh wait, yeah, there was the seed as the Megaman. So let's do that one. I'll do that probably fairly quick so we can get another couple of ones in here. So new layer, seed. Oh yeah, water. I think I just sweated about that much, so better make sure I don't turn into a husk. Sorry? Oh no, it's all good. There's not long. I can die after this. So Mega Man. Mega Man. Any particular Mega Man? Are the views on conflict at all reflective of yours at all, or just an exploration? Yeah, I'm keeping it pretty objective. I haven't really got any concrete views. I'm definitely not trying to push any sort of agenda or anything. I'm just like exploring ideas, I guess, that I think are interesting, especially with the first one. I just like thinking about the big picture. It's kind of my like, I guess, scientific sort of background. I like thinking about sort of cause and effect and looking at over a long period of time. If this happens and this happens, what would happen? That sort of thing. So yeah, social and evolutionary ideas always kind of interesting. So I'm just exploring it, but they don't necessarily reflect my views. I'm notoriously not very opinionated, especially when it comes to that sort of thing. So I don't really have that strong of a feeling one way or another. I'm just exploring some ideas. Mega Man X Ride Armor. Um, okay, I'm not a gamer, so I'm gonna have to look that one up. Okay, all right. There's a lot of them. I've seen at least three different sorts of these things. I'll do. I'll do. I'll do this. I'll do this one. All right, so seed in one of those because it's more of a little Dr. Eggman style thing. But yeah, I don't particularly game. Well, how I game is I get really excited, play something for about an hour. Well, I play something until my hands are hurting, and then I either get fed up and never come back to it, or I sort of finish the whole thing. By which I mean hard games I usually think aren't worth the effort because I'm not particularly good at games. I don't have a lot of stick-to-itiveness when it comes to finishing them. So yeah, I'll only play them for a bit. I've only played a couple of Mega Man games and not for very long, so I don't particularly have a lot of Mega Man knowledge. Yeah, so let's get this thing happening. So I guess he's just going to be in the top there, sitting in that old thing. Let's get some shapes. Zoom round. Actually, I was. Oops, I said R again. I feel like this stream has had just enough R's to be a drinking game. I don't think a ridiculous amount, but there's definitely been a bunch in there.
You're going to be disappointed when you listen back.
Oh, she just said I'm going to be disappointed when I'm listening back. So I've done a lot of them. Okay. Oh, baby steps. I don't know why I do that because I don't do it in real life. Or do I indeed? But yeah, for some reason, I guess just nerves or whatever. But yeah, I don't think I really do it in real life. And I'm sure the more kind of comfortable I get with this, the more chill I'll be and the less I think I'll have to fill every microsecond with some noise, which defaults to just that R sound. I mean, it's one of those things, I wasn't going to probably mention it because a lot of people are like, didn't notice it until you mention it. So should I mention it? Or is everyone just noticing it and I should mention it anyway? But yeah, it's one of those things that I kind of notice when other people are doing. So it's weird that I don't notice when I'm doing it, unless I'm being really observant of it. But as soon as I forget about being observant of it, that's probably when I slip back into it. But that's okay. We're only human. So that goes like this. Thinking maybe for the next one I'll switch to a more like an opacity, a brush that changes opacity rather than thickness, because then I think the sketches might look a little nicer. I'm not crazy about how these are turning out, but it should be right. Yeah, I was talking about on the last stream a lot of things Australians don't say. Should be right is one of the things we do say. And I say quite a lot, and we also say no worries a lot, because we're pretty chill. And the other thing we'll do is, yes, say yeah, nah, which means no, and yeah, and nah, yeah, which means yes. So when that happens, that's what that means. It's very non-committal. And the more non-committal you're being, the more times you repeat it. So it'd be like, yeah, nah, nah, yeah, nah, yeah, nah, means you're really thinking about this one. And whatever my final response is, know that I thought deeply about it. So you shouldn't be offended by my opinion. That may or may not be true. Don't worry about that. Okay, so we'll go like this. And then got this. One problem with needing a reference is that I do not have the ability to also look at the chat. Have I had to lecture as a teacher? Being a college TA, doing that was very awkward until I got the hang of it. It was usually a high point. No, I have not lectured really. I'm mainly a high school teacher. grade. So that's grade 7 to 10, whatever that means over on the other side of the pond. So yeah, it's not really lecturing. I guess I've done a little bit of that, but only very rarely and not as part of my main school stuff, I suppose. Like I've done little drawing class things and whatever, but not really. Thought Seed would be cute piloting something ridiculously oversized. Yeah, I think he might be. I mean, it doesn't look incredibly oversized to me, but I guess I'll assume that Megaman is the size of a normal human, and then Seed will be the size of a normal evolved squirrel 50,000 years in the future. So he'd be pretty small in there. So let's see where that goes. Now what's happening? Oh, it's got a little bod. What are these legs? Getting some like kind of chibi Megas XLR vibes from this thing. Yeah, and no pressure for questions, but if anyone wants to know something in particular, let me know. Watched Avatar: The Way of Water yesterday. The Way of Water. Um, and yeah, fantastic, really good. It's kind of, I don't know, I feel like it's a cult response at this point, or something's been ingrained, because everyone I've ever talked to is like, yeah, it was really good, better than the first one, story was slightly better, amazing visuals, duh. It's like the exact same thing. And I find myself saying that every time I talk to people about it as well. But it's true. The Cameron man, Mr. McCameron, knows how to make a movie for $2 billion or whatever. And it was good. Definitely felt like I got my money's worth. I was watching thousands and thousands of dollars go by every second on the screen. Very, very good. Even though I still kind of hate the mechs in that. Mainly those stupid ones they had in the first film, which are back, maybe with a vengeance. But they didn't really do anything in this one. Spoilers. But there's a lot of cool new robots. There's like the crab ones that are pretty sweet. But I feel like technology has advanced by about 200 years in like 12 years or whatever it's been. But that's fine. Who knows what's going to happen in the future. Crab Mech made me want to go Crabmon for when in Digimon when they showed the Australian Digidestined. And they had Crabmon. So if you're wondering why I said that. Yeah. Digimon, another pretty big influence. When I was doing the big picture of all of my characters, I thought this will probably, I don't know if I'll have enough. And then once I'd sort of filled up the whole thing, I remembered my Digimon comic universe. So that was another whole bunch of stuff. I got one Digimon and two Digidestined from my fan Digimon comic, which I did, excuse me, in like the first season of Digimon. So in about the year 2000 or something like that. Before they'd invented all the crazy stuff that kind of took it away from just the usual formula. I invented a few, or thought I invented a few things, and later on it was done. I was like, I thought of it first. I was like, yeah, in a really bad way that wasn't as good. So at the time I was like, oh, my ideas. But in hindsight, it was the most obvious thing you could possibly do. So yeah, I had a bunch of those. In the top left-hand corner of the big collab, not collab, the big picture with all the characters in. There's one Digimon is like blue and gray. He's called Ironomon. And then a couple of Digidestined up above that. Doing the legs like this remind me of how I incorrectly learned how to draw legs by looking at some Transformers cells when I was really, really young. And everyone would stand. Oh, God, it's so unnatural. I don't know if it's even. Like, their legs would do this. And I don't even. Actually, that looks kind of cool now that I'm doing it. But yeah, they'd sort of like be really just thrusting out. And the legs would be sort of going inwards and backwards. And it was worse than that. It was like the other one would be going this way, but still they were facing this way. It was really strange. Kind of like this. So I'll leave those there. Those can be some guys in the background, some squirrels in the background. So yeah, I guess I drew on one of my ancient memories or ancient stuff to do these legs, which don't look particularly good, but that's okay. I'll just crop it here. And we've got the other sort of arm around here. And then I feel like this is sort of like a humans in a Zentradi battle pod situation where the controls are still huge, but he's really tiny. And they've got to he's trying to get out of there. Maybe I'll zoom in a little bit. So Seed is in for a big, rude awakening quite soon in the comic. More so than he already has had, which is, one might say, already quite a lot. He's like... He's one of those ones that really doesn't look like him until you've got the hair in there. And I felt like maybe I went a little bit too anthro with his like hairstyle. Him and his mom have both got incredibly just human hair, which maybe is a little weird. But the thing is, it's the same as it was in SG, where some animals have been evolving for longer, so they've sort of evolved more of these traits, kind of sort of bird of paradise sort of traits, where they've evolved to the point where they have no conflict, so their evolution goes more down the route of like what's cool. The reason you're procreating now is because you look the coolest, and you will send your coolness down the family tree. So because squirrels were one of the first ones to kind of like evolve, they have a lot more hair because they've evolved a bit more over the time. Same with rats, they have a lot of hair as well. Not all of them, but a lot of them do. Like Amethyst has got a lot of hair, as do most of them. Even from the very start of the comic with sort of her like second in command, Jade, he's got quite a lot of hair as well. His big old buckers, as we call them down here. Buck teeth.
I've never once called them that.
Haven't you?
No.
Oh, sorry, that was just an aside too. I'm being disputed. Maybe it's a very like a localized, but yeah, often in my family when we're referring to buck teeth. Yeah, so we've got his hair, which does this, kind of comes way down actually. So much that you can't really see the side of that. He's got, now, I don't know, I'm sort of on the fence in terms of what squirrel ears should do, since we don't have them down here, of course. And sometimes people draw them with really small ears, and sometimes I look at a picture and they've got like really big ears with these kind of like sort of tufts on the end. So I don't know. But this is what I'm going with. And then I didn't even know there's like so many different sorts of them. But I guess whatever it looks the most like is the one that it is. It's got this. And let's go back in chat real quick. I needed to go check out Avatar 2. Just keep forgetting to actually go out and do that. Yeah, if you're going to go outside for something, that's probably one good one to do it for. And yeah, we saw a 3D movie for the first time in like 13 years. So that was cool as well. So if you're going to go to a movie, probably go to that one. A decade between movies probably leaves room for improvement. It leaves room for more hundreds of thousands of people to go insane animating. There's a new Digimon TCG that's supposed to be pretty fun with amazing artwork. Yeah, I've got it. We've got it. We played it a lot. It dropped off a bit. Of course, it's really fun, but like unless you're both on like nearly the exact same page, sort of how you want to play the game, kind of power level wise, it can get a bit one-sided. Because I'll tend to sort of like do some theory crafting and like try to think of all these new strats and doing all these things. Ends up being a bit too powerful and kind of like not very fun. But yeah, the art's incredible. It looks really good. The way the game works is really fun and different for a TCG. But yeah, that was really good fun while it lasted. Around here, all the packs are kind of going on sort of on sale, so I might pick up a few more if they go real cheap and see where things have headed in terms of the game. But yeah, really fun way it works, where you use power, or you have a certain amount of power to do stuff like evolve Digimon, bring in new ones, play power cards and stuff. But whatever you do, that gives power to your opponent. So if you do a lot of big powerful stuff, that means your opponent's going to have a lot of big powerful potential. So it's all about like timing it to where you can get the most benefit out of it and your opponent won't. And that can be a bit of like feel bad sometimes when you do a thing like what's called rookie rush, where you just send like a billion guys out, and there's only so much you can do to defend your hit points basically. And if you sometimes you can just spam a bunch of little idiots and they'll just win you the game. And it's like it's kind of lame. And that's sort of yeah, that's something you got to deal with, and like you sort of almost got to build a deck or parts of your deck to deal with that, and it can be a little bit sort of frustrating. But yeah, I really liked it. Had a lot of fun with a black sort of machine deck based around Machine Dramon. It was very cool, and yeah, the art's phenomenal. So yeah, I might just get some more just to see some more cool art. See what else we got over here. Dying to see what happens with him in Marvel. I also imagine with humans, though uncommon from what I can tell, they might take after human styles as well. Yeah, probably. Yeah, especially now that humans are back in the mix. Also have curiosity, how far ahead in the comic do you have planned out? Yeah, so as I said a bit earlier, I've got most of this one pretty much completely planned out, but as sort of a rough guide, the full thing like panel to panel, I've actually only got a little bit planned out. It's really only probably about 20 pages ahead of where I am now. So, and that's kind of the end of an arc. So once that happens, I'm just going to like go back to scripting because I haven't done it in a while. I'm still just like going off the fumes of the scripting I did back when I was at school. But yeah, I haven't got time. Like I've just had so little time for stuff, but I'll plan out a whole bunch more of it very shortly. All right. Well, this one's pretty. Oh wait, what am I doing? You could be anything. I'm sure this is entirely ridiculous and that they don't really do this, but there you go. That's my interpretation of what a squirrel tail would look like, having never seen one. Oh yeah, and then these guys, I guess they'll just be like looking on. So yeah, if anyone had a thing that is doable in like 15 minutes, then I'll get right on it. They're going to be like, if it had, oh, I should have like sort of squirreled it up a little bit. Also, it has another arm, doesn't it? Oh, okay. Second verse, same of the first in terms of arms, so that's probably okay. In fact, I'll make it go in like. Whoop, it's begun like, yeah, I did it. And Daniel from the Transformers movie. That ain't right. Bit bigger. Tried to make him small, but I think he's about the same size as Megaman is sitting in this thing. That's fine. Yeah. Okay, there we go. That's the line width is completely not jarring at all. Now leave it like that. All right. Funny enough, Seed's face is the exact one I made jumping in right armor for the first time and punching everything to death. Yeah, I had that in a game that was called Solar to Robo. If you haven't seen that, look it up. But it's basically about, and when we were in Japan, there was an awful lot of merch of this, which was pretty good. It's about like this anthro dog guy, and it's an anthro world, and they have little mechs that are kind of like 1.5 times the size of a person. It's spelled thusly, I think. Solar to Robo. I did a picture about this a long time ago, and it's pretty good. It's about this dog called Red, and there's a lot of big robots, and there's a lot of cool lore, and there's stuff going on, and he has a bone in his mouth most of the time. But yeah, it's pretty good. Oh no, he's got it's like cool hair. Anyway, nothing like that. But yeah, look it up if you want to see like a cool. It's on the Game Boy. Oh, it's on the DS, I think. It's a while ago. Got the copy of the game? Yeah. Your ammo is your enemies. You hit them at one and at other enemies to do damage. Yeah, for sure. That's how you do it. So yeah, one more little suggesto, please. What? Sorry. 1 second. What's that, Jake?
I made one.
You made one? I missed it. Marble is a dragon. Okay.
What's wrong?
Okay. You've reckoned on my ability to be able to draw a dragon that isn't a robot. All right. All right. New layer, so I can burn it indiscriminately. I guess first of all, I'll do a dragon and then I'll make it marble, I guess. Um,
I drew that.
oh, that's the Tali. You want to show the chat?
You can hold it up in front of you. It's Tali.
This is what Vitali, my wife, is doing. It's her OC Tali. And this will be a good chance to see if the camera can focus. Because of the lag, I'm just having a look in here. How close do we get? How close can we get? Anyway, it's looking really good. You going to? So, where was I? Now, G is one of the best dragon artists that I know, so I'm going to have to worry about being bad. I think I'll bring that head up a little. Some scales going on. And it kind of does this, so maybe we'll have like sort of reverse main situation. You laughing over there?
Laughing at your dragon.
Shh! You laugh at my dragon. It's perfect. What are you talking about? Yep, that's a dragon. Perfect. All right, I think I'll probably not do the whole body because I'll just get laughed at some more. There, it's a dragon. And all right, probably got one more. Figa Melodies of Steel, recent game. Oh, is that next in the Solitaire Robo thing? Um, do, 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 do. Yep. I'm the embodiment of perfection. Yes. Um, um, yeah, but it was. Tully says, I think the only dragons you've ever drawn are the ones I made you draw. Correct. That's why I'm so good at them. Yeah. One more little suggesto, please, and then we'll probably call it. But yeah, I'll say in advance, thank you very much, everyone, for being involved. For as long as you were able to hang in there. Oh, actually, the big lines I like a lot better. Favorite Johan facial expression. Yeah, good one. All right. I think I'm already drawing it, actually. So yeah. What is he doing? He's got these. Oh, he's got all sorts of different hairstyles, actually. So I guess anything goes. All right. 4 hours in, I think I've hit on a line style that sort of works. I think thick lines is the way to go. Yeah, I sort of forgot. I kind of look back on that comic a little bit, and I forget how insane. Like on the surface, like most of the time, it's probably my most consistent, normal looking one. Everyone just looks like a person, but sometimes, yeah, it gets a little funny with them faces. Doing more. So I think like, yeah, nose is like. He's had about 5,000 years to work on it. A lot of the time he was just dots. I think I found the stream image. I think it's probably just going to be this. And yeah, and I also forgot how elaborate I would sort of make everything in this one. Sort of in terms of their outfits and whatnot. Yeah, he was like this just a bunch of the time. Mouth or nose, you decide. Actually, neither. It's nothing. Yeah, thanks, Dahlia. Pretty amazing. Probably my best work. If I'm honest, which I'm not. Oh, yeah. Maybe like a... Oh, it's pretty similar to the top one. Let's go a real kind of downwards. I feel like he did like this sort of thing at one point. He's got some little hands. Yeah, you need to develop some sort of sign-off image so you know, like Drawfee has. So I've got something so you know it's coming up to the end. I'm sure it'll organically create itself. Yeah, a few more mins. We'll just get a couple more. No, I think that's perfect. I think that covers the full gamut of emotions that can be experienced by a sentient being. It's like, which one are you today? None of them are happy? Yeah. Well, no, it's like this. Yeah. Yeah, there we go. There we go. So, yeah. Phenomenal. Thanks. Yeah, I know. My best work. I've got a little one in here. And we're like, just disappointed. The real kind of shoulder shrug. Or just down shoulders. Well, yeah. Yes, we did indeed meet online. We met on DA. Eventually, well, I think I saw a like icon at the time, which was a sort of like a little animated pixel GIF of a character at the time, Sugar, bouncing on one of those gym walls. And yeah, and I sort of drew that as a bit of fan art. And then we started doing open canvas collabs when that was a thing you could do. At the time, she lived in Queensland. I lived in Tasmania. But one thing led to another. She moved down to Tasmania, moved in together, and the rest is history. Yeah, and that was, it was actually did you mention the anniversary? It was actually our 10-year anniversary last week. Yeah. What? Yeah, a 10-year wedding anniversary last week. Yeah, so it's all happening. Birthday. But yeah, thanks for everyone for being here for my birthday stream. And hopefully the webcam wasn't too distracting. Let me know what you thought about that, I guess. And yeah, we've made some real art together here today. So yes, thanks very much for joining in. I'll go off and dive heatstroke in a second, but I've managed to hold on. Well, we're talking about aircon. I didn't want to have that on while I was streaming because it's very, very loud. But yeah, thanks again for being here for as long as you could. And I'll do this again next week sometime. It probably may not be this day for many more times because I'll have to go back to work. And we will be in Bicheno next week, so I won't be doing it then. But I'll be doing it again fairly soon. So have a think about what you might want to have drawn or what you might want to ask. And yeah, these have been great suggestions. Everyone's been fantastic as always, and I'll catch you again next time. Good night, good morning, good whatever. Bye.